Slush, how you do, buckaroos? How the heck are you? I'm going to be Tom the Whiskey Whisperer for the purposes of this video anyway. How the heck are you? Oh, darn it. I messed up on it. So don't want to cooperate with me today. Let's try this again. So I think, all right, so I've got two cocktails. I picked up some stuff last week when we were on vacation in the Columbus, Ohio area. But first we went through Indianapolis. So I've got a product from Indianapolis to start with for you. Let me get things switched out over here, then I'll be right with you. There we go. Now we're in business. All right. All righty then. No, that's doing there. Right there. So here's what I got. I got the Hard Truth. It's a sweet mash rye, a straight rye whiskey, barrel strength, uncut, unfiltered. This one is at bottled on 2/6 of 24. So it's been in a bottle for a minute. The alcohol is 60.3, so 120.6 proof. Distilled in Indiana, aged over 2 years from Hard Truth Distilling in Nashville, Indiana. Didn't know there was Nashville, Indiana, but how about that? So here's what I got with this one. I've got 2 ounces of the whiskey. I've got 1 ounce of a pecan bourbon vanilla simple syrup. My garnish is some candied ginger and a cinnamon stick and cilantro. I got to tell you, this stuff is insanely good. I bought this. So the first night we got into Indiana, late afternoon, I guess. We hit the Garage Food Hall there in Indianapolis. I didn't hit any other breweries or distilleries that day, but they had a Hard Truth bar there, and they had a bargain going on with this particular sweet mash rye, coupled with their maple bourbon cream. And so I bought both of them. I think it was like $70 to buy both. So I think you saved a little bit, but quite frankly, I was on vacation time. I really wasn't paying attention. I just figured with that. So I bought both of them. The truth is, that maple bourbon cream is rather amazing. Very smooth. The texture is incredible. But this sweet mash rye, I almost wish I had bought another bottle of it because it really is that good. I do a cocktail for work. I came up with using this. I use a different product at work to get there, but I came up with the idea for this cocktail using this whiskey. It's called a pecan pie old fashioned. What I've done different here is one, I obviously have it served straight up, which means I've got it chilled, but I'm not using the big cube. And then so I have ginger bitters, but I brought them to work, so I didn't have them here. So to make up for not having the ginger bitters, I added the candied ginger. I want to see if you can see that there. If I pull that up there, you can take a look at it. So it's basically just a dried ginger with sugar, that candied ginger. So I'm using that to kind of make up for not having the ginger bitters, but it actually works. So why would you use a cask strength product for a cocktail? Well, typically you wouldn't, in all honesty. I use it because I have it here, but for me anyway, again, and I've probably said this ad nauseum at this point, is your cocktail is only as good as the ingredients you put in it. So if, as they say about wine and cooking, right? They say never use a wine you wouldn't drink. And I feel the same about a cocktail. It is never use a product in a cocktail that you wouldn't drink neat. It, Because if you use a bottom shelf cocktail in your cocktail, you're going to get a bottom shelf cocktail. You use bottom shelf whiskey in your cocktail, you're going to get a bottom shelf cocktail. Use a good product. Use a product you would drink neat, especially in a whiskey forward cocktail, such as what I have here, or a Manhattan, or any whiskey forward cocktail. Anything where the whiskey is the main ingredient. Use a good product, man. So just got back from vacation on Monday. Was supposed to be off until Thursday, but I ended up going in on Wednesday. I was supposed to be off today and tomorrow, but I'm going in tomorrow. I'm not too surprised, to be honest with you, but you spend all your money on vacation, so I'm not going to complain about getting a couple of extra shifts. Uh, but it was nice to get away. My wife and I have never been on a trip of this magnitude before, and I know it seems minor league to a lot of my friends out there who take frequent vacations or have gone to a lot of exotic locations. But for us, it was rather different. It was nice spending 2 nights in Indianapolis. Neither one of us had been there before. Um, I had one full day there, and I hit 5 breweries and 2 distilleries. I was moving, man. I was moving, and that's not counting the Hard Truth bar, because I didn't really count that as a distillery because it's just a bar there. But boy, their products there are insane. I'm a fan of the Hard Truth products. This rye is insane. The sweet mash rye. Oh my god. You would never know the proof. It's just tasty. Distilled with the finest grains and water. Indiana's sweet mash pioneers. Yeah, they do a job with this, man. They're not playing. Um, our distiller's select blend of straight rye whiskey aged perfectly to extract notes of brown sugar. Yes, I'll agree with that. Orchard fruit and peppercorn from new charred American oak barrels. Yeah, it does all of that and more. I could put a finer point on some of those things, but the bottom line is wow. I mean, just freaking wow. So they have another product that I have too called their High Road rye, which is at 93 proof, which I'll probably use more going forward and drink the sweet mash neat. But I wanted to have one nice cocktail with this particular blend, I guess. I like that. The reason I like, a lot of, especially if you're doing a Manhattan-esque or old-fashioned inspired cocktail, you want to use bitters. But I will tell you, just dropping not having the bitters, I use that candied ginger, and it gave me almost more of what I was looking for. It did add a little more sweetness to the cocktail, but it also gave me more ginger as well. Gosh, that is good though. This rye is insane. I got to tell you, this rye is crazy good. Yeah, right there at the Garage Food Hall, they have a Hard Truth bar per se, where they do other things. I mean, there's some beers there, but they have a lot of their specialty cocktails. And I ordered one that evening, but they were running a special on this the rye with the maple bourbon cream. But I ended up buying 2 of the rye products and none of the bourbon. But nevertheless, nevertheless, it's really good, man. So we talk about flavor profile, and I mentioned some of the flavors and aromas that they listed there. What they don't mention is how pleasing this is to drink. The viscosity, the mouthfeel, it's just a pleasant product to drink. Doesn't feel too chewy, doesn't feel thin, and even at that 120 and change proof, yeah, it doesn't feel hot to me. Of course, I'm an old drinker. So for you younger guys, you might feel it different than I do, but it doesn't feel hot. It's 120 proof, folks. You're going to taste some alcohol. But what I'm saying is it never gets to where it feels off-putting or unbalanced. And I think there's just a lot of folks out there that just aren't able to make that distinction. It used to drive me crazy as a craft beer guy when I watched beer videos and someone would say, well, this is a bad beer. And then they would later say, well, I don't like the style. Well, if you don't like the style, how are you saying it's a bad beer? So I want to come to the conclusion just because I might not like something personally doesn't necessarily make it bad. Just because you're not in favor of a particular style doesn't make that product bad. You have to know, you have to be smart, especially if you're going to call yourself a reviewer of some kind. You have to know if it's flawed. You can say, well, this product isn't for me, but it's not flawed in any way, so I recommend it for others. Just because you don't like a particular style or particular, uh, again, if you're not a fan of rye, for instance, you can say, well, I don't like it, but then I don't like rye. Well, then why are you trying to so-called review it in the first place? Just because you don't like something doesn't make it bad. Can you detect a flaw? You have to be smart enough to know that. If you can't detect a flaw, well, it's not bad, it's just not for you, but it might be for somebody else. Uh, I've kind of warmed up to rye over the last few years. Growing up, my dad was a bourbon drinker, and he always said he didn't like rye. So naturally, I didn't like rye either because he didn't. But as I got older, started trying rye, I said, "Huh, wonder what about it he didn't like." So over the last couple of years, I've really tried to try a lot of different rye mashes. This one, I gotta tell you, the sweet mash rye is one of the best I've ever had. They put this thing together so impeccably well. It's great, neat, even at that proof. Works fine in a cocktail. You can just do whatever you want to with it. If you paid for it, hell, I don't care. Put Coke in it for all I give a rat's ass. But here's the thing. Here's my caveat to that: is if you're at somebody's house and they offer you a particular product a specific way, you need to drink it exactly that way. If you want to add something to it, you need to say, well, I would be glad to have this, but I have to do this to it. And let that make the decision if they want to waste their product on you. Because if someone says, hey, this is a 10-year-old product, maybe you should drink it neat. Well, you should drink it neat. And if your only recourse is to put something in it, you should turn down that product and not be an asshat and ruin their product because you're a candy ass. anyway, I digress. Let me finish this one up, and I got one more cocktail to have with you. Give me a minute. I'll be right back. Okay, here's what we got here with this one. So I came up with the idea for this cocktail. So I've got two products from Watershed Distilling in Columbus, Missouri. Watershed Distillery. This is their barrel strength fall finishing series. This is a 5-year-old bourbon, straight bourbon whiskey finished in port cask. This was comes in at 59.1% or 118.2 proof. Batch number one, 118.1. I'm going to read a little bit from their bottle here. This limited release Oh, excuse me. Just limited release. My bad, right there. As part of Watershed Distillery Fall Finishing Series, a celebration of the flavors inspired by autumn and the warm, cozy feeling we look forward to in the cooler months. For the first time ever, we finished our bourbon in ruby port casks, pouring garnet in color. The aroma of sweet plum and mulling spice lead to a palate with hints of bean cherry and a finish that reveals a caramel embrace and a familiar touch of wine tannin. Watershed Distilling, Columbus, Ohio. Let me show you that bottle here. So here's what I did with this. I used 2 ounces of that whiskey with 1 ounce of their barrel finished Nocino, which is a black walnut liqueur from Watershed Distilling. It is at 28.4% alcohol, or what? 56.8, I guess. Watershed Distillery, Columbus, Ohio. Nocino liqueur finished in bourbon whiskey barrels. Let me show that to you. So here's what I got here. I've got 2 ounces of the whiskey, 1 ounce of the Nocino, and a couple dashes of black walnut bitters. And I haven't settled on a garnish for this. I'm just coming up with this cocktail. I'm going to tentatively call it at this point Nightfall, because I got their fall finishing series whiskey with the blackest night Nocino. So I'm going to call it Nightfall. And I'm not sure if a cinnamon stick would be a good garnish. I'm still figuring that out. Don't have any black walnuts or use that as a garnish. Nevertheless, nevertheless, man, but I do have the black walnut bitters, and that is essential for me with the Nocino. So I do have this served sort of like a Manhattan. I got it served straight up. Now their cocktail list is interesting. They have some good stuff, but they're more complicated than I typically do cocktails. I'm kind of an old school guy, so I like a 3 to 4 ingredient cocktail. I don't like to add a whole lot of things. I'm very old school when I put my cocktails together. So I don't know if this is a cocktail they'd be interested in at Watershed, but I'm telling you, folks, it works. You've got these ingredients in your house. You don't. I think sometimes a lot of modern mixologists like to make things more complicated than they need to be and add things that don't need to be added. Sometimes simpler is better. There's a reason why classic cocktails are classic for a reason, is you don't need 100 ingredients to make a great cocktail. Having said that, yeah, I mean, your 5-year-old whiskey with the Nocino and the black walnut bitters, come up with the garnish you think is appropriate. I mean, I'm telling you, this drink is amazing. And in all honesty, it may only appeal to those of us of a certain age. I will say that right up front. But the way that Nocino blends with that fall finishing series whiskey is just amazing. And you add those couple 3 dashes of black walnut bitters just to add to the aromatics, and you have yourself one hell of a cocktail. Ah, biscuits, man, it ain't playing. That whiskey is insane on its own, to say the truth. I will probably drink most of what's left of it. There's still a lot left. I'll probably drink most of it neat, but I really wanted to have it as a cocktail here. I've drank it a couple times as a cocktail, but not for a video. So I really wanted to have one with you here. I have another one of their products, but this fall finishing series is just crazy good, man. And I honestly was not familiar. I've had some friends that have used Nocino. Uh, I wasn't familiar with it at all. I've never had it before, and I really enjoy this product. So it's something that I would like to have again. That black walnut liqueur. Oh, damn. Since we're kind of known for black walnuts here in Southwest Missouri. I'm kind of surprised more small distilleries out here don't do a Nocino because they have the black walnuts available to them. I'm really surprised some of them don't do that. Nevertheless, nevertheless, man, nevertheless, this is really good, man. That Nocino, wow. It wasn't something I ever had during my upbringing, but I tell you, having it for the first time, it does make me want to try other versions of because I really like what they've done here. This barrel finished Chino is just insanely good. Watershed was really nice. My wife and I had a very nice dinner there for our anniversary. I think I enjoyed it more than she did, but the halibut we had was great. I don't think she liked the side dish as much, but for me, I didn't mind them. And but they used it. We also ordered the speck grain bread. That was really tasty, man. The bread was oh my gosh, good. But that halibut was just so perfect. Yeah, the customer service that was very important to me this during this whole trip. Almost every place was perfect that we went to through Indianapolis, and into Columbus, and then coming home through the valleys in Evansville and in St. Louis. It was nice. Oh, I didn't see Vanessa's comment there. I hope I didn't ignore you there, Vanessa. I post your comment. I think I missed you, but my apologies. My apologies for the frivolity. Anyway, oh man. This cocktail is nice, man. Yeah, I haven't decided on a garnish yet, though. I thought, well, I don't know if maybe cinnamon stick, but I don't know if I wanted to add that other flavor to it. So we're gonna play around with that idea. But I wanted to have again the whiskey, the Nocino, and the black walnut bitters, just to have it all together. So I made this cocktail when we were in Columbus, but I didn't have my black walnut bitters there. I just used the whiskey and the Nocino. But adding the addition of the bitters, it does take it up a notch. That the black walnut bitters does add to the aromatics. I just haven't decided which way the garnish ought to go. Should I go more traditional, like a Manhattan, and just do a dark cherry? Again, the cinnamon stick. Since I'm calling this, a fall cocktail, go with it like a cinnamon stick. I don't know. Haven't quite figured that out yet. Or some candied ginger, maybe even. We're gonna play around with some different things, but I wanted to try just these three ingredients first. Then I'll monkey around with the garnish from there. That maybe cinnamon stick, but I didn't know if I wanted to add a cinnamon to it. Candy. I have some candied ginger that I'm kind of liking that idea. I might try it with that ginger because that would again add to the aromatics and to that fall idea. And would add a little bit of sweetness, but also would add a little bit of spice to it as well. Anyway, I'm still pondering. I'm still working out those details. I just wanted to see the whiskey, the Nocino, the bitters, how it all worked together, and oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. This is going to be my fall cocktail from now to the end of fall. I love what this tastes like. Although I probably will make a change with the whiskey. Use my other watershed product that doesn't have quite this proof to it, but it's going to change. That's going to change the flavors too, because it's not a ruby port barrel finish. So it's going to. So I don't know. I'm going to have to play around with some different things. We'll figure it out. But nevertheless, man, nevertheless, and it is tasty though. I got to tell you. I've known some friends mostly on the East Coast that have had Nicino and have talked about it. I wasn't familiar with it at all. This is the first Nicino that I've ever had, so I don't know how. Again, I couldn't tell you if this is indicative of the flavor or not, but I will tell you I like this particular product, and it makes me want to try others. And this is barrel aged. I don't know if they're all barrel aged. If this is, again, I don't know any of that. I'm just telling you I like this one. Uh, Anyway, anyway, anyways, I digress. But I digress, man. But I digress, baby. I digress. I, I am Tom the Whiskey Whisperer, Whiskey Evangelist, prolific whiskey drinker, purveyor of wisdom and it was a nice vacation. I really liked Indianapolis a lot. I would like to explore more there. We only had one full day there, so we hit mostly downtown, and they had within about a 2 blocks or two. I'm sorry, not 2 blocks, but 2 miles. There was five breweries and two distilleries, so I kind of hit them. But there are other breweries and distilleries outside of that parameter that I would like to get back to. One thing I really loved about Indianapolis was how inclusive it was. I love seeing the pride flags in various versions of the two spirit flags and such. At every brewery and distillery had a flag up, and I really liked that notion, how inclusive that area was. I wish my little small corner of Southwest Missouri was that inclusive, but unfortunately, we have a lot of old money and small minds here in Southwest Missouri. Nevertheless, but I love seeing that, and we did see a lot of that in Columbus as well. Not quite. Uh, to the same scope as Indianapolis, but there was a lot of inclusiveness there as well. I never saw somebody eating dogs or cats. I think that only exists in minds of Republicans. You have to be a really small-minded conservative to believe any of that nonsense, but nevertheless, this is where we are. I did get the idea from talking to folks. Nobody brought it up specifically, but I did get the idea that tourism had been down because of the nonsense that some politicians had been talking about things going on in that area. But I liked it out there. I really liked all the places that we went to in Columbus, and then a little south of Columbus where the Brew Dog Hotel was in Canal Winchester, or the locals just referred to it as Canal. I had two breweries there, Homestead and Loose Rail. Both were outstanding. Didn't have a chance to hit anything as we left. We didn't have a chance to hit anything in Cincinnati because we spent 3 hours at a grocery store. So we found this grocery store called Jungle Jim's, this big market, international market, and we spent about 3 hours there. But the truth is, if we had more time, we probably would have spent like 6 or 7 hours in there. It's a great big store, a lot of great stuff. But because we spent so much time there, I didn't hit any breweries or distilleries in Cincinnati, so I might have to plan another trip where I can really explore that Cincinnati region because there's a lot of stuff out there that I didn't realize at the time. Yeah, we hit the remnants of Hurricane Helene, I guess it was. Had two big accidents that slowed us down about 2 hours. It was brutal there. But on the upside, the positive note is when we finally got out of that, when that traffic jam finally opened up, they got the roads cleared and the rain slowed down. We decided to pull off for gas, and as luck would have it, there was where we decided to pull off for gas. There was a distillery a half a mile, and my wife says, "Do you want to go?" And at first, I said no because we're running so far behind. We need to get to where we're going. And then she said, "Well, I wouldn't mind having just a few minutes to de-stress from that white knuckle driving." And it seemed a shame not to be only a half mile away from a distillery and not go. So I did buy 3 products from there, and I've only opened up one so far, but that one I've opened up is so crazy good. I'm glad we stopped there. It was the Neely family distillery there. Man, I didn't do any tasting there. They had 2 tastings going on when I got there, so I just decided. I said, "Oh, what the hell?" I just grabbed 3 products kind of randomly. The first one I opened up was a cask bourbon that's just insanely good. So I'm looking forward to trying the rye, but I also bought this other product that was kind of a commemorative product. So I'm looking forward to giving that one a whirl as well. Anyway, I am Tom, the Whiskey Whisperer, Whiskey Evangelist, prolific whiskey drinker, purveyor, wisdom man. All right, good guy. Sláinte.